Welcome to the Close the Chapter podcast. I am Kristen Boyce, a licensed marriage and family therapist with a private practice, Pathways to Healing Counseling. Through conversations, education, strategies, and shared stories, we will be closing the chapter on all the thoughts, feelings, people, and circumstances that don't serve you anymore and open the door to possibilities and the real you. You won't want to miss an episode, so be sure to subscribe. Welcome to this week's Close the Chapter podcast. How are you? I am so glad you're here tuning into this week's episode on 10 things to release in your life. This is an episode that I originally aired a while ago, and it was so popular. I wanted to bring it back because it's sharing so many things that I think we're all struggling to release or to break up with in our lives. So I hope it is helpful. And I'm curious, how is this seasonal transition going for you? How is it going from the winter months to more spring? And now we're entering into summer. Sometimes this brings so many emotions up that we don't even realize are there because our bodies remember everything. So if for some reason you're feeling triggered or you're having some grief come up, or you're not sure what's really happening, float back and maybe do a timeline around like this month. So does May bring anything up for you? What happened in May over the course of your life? Whether it was maybe a significant transition in your life, maybe you moved, you lost a loved one, perhaps there was a divorce, maybe there was a significant transition in your life and a relationship ended. So just kind of make note of those things and give yourself so much compassion during this time because seasons bring up a lot of emotion and grief. I just want to acknowledge that. So I hope this episode is helpful and supportive as you're navigating your own healing journey. So be sure to share this with anyone else you think would be benefit from it or it would be helpful, and you guys can talk about it. So also, grab the free journal at Kristen, KRISTEN, Boyce, BOICE.com/free resources. So I hope this episode of 10 things to release in your life is helpful to you. Sending you all the love. Enjoy. Welcome to this week's Close the Chapter podcast. I am back with a solo episode. It's been a few weeks since I've done a solo episode. And I thought it was really important right now to talk about all the things we need to break up with. I wanted to talk about breakups. We are in the middle of this pandemic, and so many people are struggling with anxiety, depression, isolation, trauma, grief, loss. It just feels like it's a repetitious cycle. And I want to be the beacon of light to be the champion for mental health. I want to end the stigma around going to therapy, talking about emotions, processing what happens and what we feel in real time. I want to disrupt old, stale patterns that keep people stuck and having their bodies shut down and feeling lost and alone and hiding and pleasing and performing. I want to disrupt unhealthy patterns that are no longer serving anyone. I want to stop this idealistic picture that we see on Instagram and Facebook, and it's not real. It's an illusion. We all have emotions. We're all struggling in some ways, and they come and go. Emotions are like waves. One minute we might feel sad. The next minute we might feel excited. And we might feel that at the same time. I might have both. And so if you want to join the newsletter, feel free to go to Kristen, KRISTEN, Boyce, BOICE.com. Put your information in. You'll get a free journal to start you on this journey to mental health and wellness. And then you can also join social. I try to be real and authentic and give helpful information at Kristen D. Boyce on Instagram and Facebook. And then Pinterest is just Kristen Boyce. And YouTube is just Kristen Boyce. I try to put so much free information out there to help people. Thank you for spreading the word. Thank you for joining the movement, the mental health and wellness movement. We also we have this like physical movement, which is super important. A lot of it is mental. Most of it is mental that affects our bodies, and movement is important. Let's jump as a community together so we can build deeper connections and stop the surface conversations and start getting real, start closing the chapter on what doesn't serve us. And let's really jump in to how do we heal? And that's why I'm doing today's episode, because I think it's really important. We think of breakups as in relationships. I think it's what breakup is to me. It's about things that no longer serve me, that I am letting go of, that I'm releasing. I'm allowing it to move through me. I'm disrupting patterns, and I'm trying to stop at least, I should say, doing things that no longer serve me. And so let's get real about how we really feel. And so here's what we're going to break up with. I came up with 10 things. I could list 100 more, but these were the things that, as I sat down to prepare for today, that came up so quickly. And the first one that came through was breaking up with shoulds. Like, let's just break up with that word. Can we? Shoulding all over ourselves. How many clients do I work with where the words out of their mouth are, I should have done this, or I shouldn't have done that. I should work out. I should not eat the potato chips. I should not be in this relationship. And oftentimes those are invitations for us to look at what's no longer serving us. Shoulding all over ourselves is shame. Shame is saying, I'm not good enough. Guilt is about our choices. Shame is about myself. Like, I am not enough. I'm a failure. I'm a loser. I'm defective. Something's wrong with me. That is shame. And the shoulds, dotted line to shame. And I want you to start noticing how many times you think of the word should. The word should comes out of your mouth. Let's break up with that word and let's replace it with could. So we're going to break up with the word should and we're going to replace it with could. And notice the word could. I don't think I articulated that well. And notice how your body feels the minute you say could instead of should. I can feel that release already just saying that. That is from early conditioning. That's from society saying you need to be perfect. It's not true. It's an illusion. It's fake. It's not real. And when we can notice our own inner critic talking to us, we can start to disrupt it. We can start looking at the shame and look what's underneath the shame to the emotions. So we're going to break up with no longer connecting with the word should or even saying the word should, like is in parenting. Just eliminate that from your word. You shouldn't have done that. You should do this. Take it out of your vocabulary. Strike it. Just replace it with a could. Try that on. The second breakup, number 2, people like to count down from 10 to number 1. I'm going from number 1, and these aren't in particular order. So these are just like my 10 items. Number 2 is break up with the word but. How many times people say, I love you, but, and I feel like I just got slimed. I just got whammied. I just feel yuck. And so people often communicate that, especially in couples therapy. I really like it when you're very kind, but I don't like it, blah, blah, blah. Let's just strike out the word but, B-U-T. Let's just strike it and replace it with an and. Let's just strike it and say, I'm going to make a commitment to no longer use that word, especially when communicating hard things with our kids. I know you were trying to put your stuff away, but, and they emphasize the word but. How many times have you heard this? But, and it's really emphasized. And I want to go, don't use that word because it's shaming. It's shaming. The word but it creates fear. It creates shame. It creates anxiety. It creates guilt. It creates disconnection. So no shoulds, no buts. Okay, I'm going to tell you number 3 to break up with. We're going to be doing a lot of breaking up with words. And let's not make them good or bad. They don't land well in relationships. These words do not land well in relationships. They land in guilt, shame, and anxiety. Oftentimes shame. Number 3, we're going to break up with the words always and never. So when couples come in And they're like, she always nags at me, or he always is on his phone, or whoever. It doesn't matter. I'm just throwing out he, she's. It doesn't matter. Gender has no matter. It's not relevant here in terms of my examples. And what does the person want to do? Defend. They want to go, well, yesterday I wasn't on my phone, and look at you. You're always on your phone. And now I have 2 children in front of me. You're always on your phone. You're always on your phone. Instead of hearing and listening that this person's wanting connection. They're thirsty for connection. What's underneath that? We get caught up in the verbiage, or you never, ever ask me how I'm doing. Okay, now what's the person going to do? They're going to be searching the landscape of when they have asked you. It doesn't land well. We go into inner child. So the shoulds, the buts, and the always and never end up in our inner child. We want to defend. Sometimes we shut down. Sometimes we want to build a case. That's the defense, build a case on when we did do it. So always and never, strike it from your vocabulary. Just eliminate it. That is one of the key pieces, is eliminating those words. Okay, moving right along. We're going to go to number 4. We're going to break up with bad habits. And these have been our comfort for a long time. These have been when no one else saw us, we needed comfort, we needed nurturing. We went to these things that don't really serve us. They don't really nurture us. They don't really provide comfort, but we think they do because we've been doing them for so long since we were little. Let's thank it for its service. And let me tell you what some of those things are. Comfort eating. How many of us have gone into the pantry and we're eating to comfort ourselves? You're not alone. So many people have done this. Or maybe food was a way the family came together. Or maybe it wasn't. Somehow we've linked up some of these things like food, internet, watching TV, shopping. The list can go on and on. Gossip. I mean, any kind of addiction, alcohol, pills. The list is endless. And we find, oh, that will take the edge off. Oh, that will comfort me. It doesn't. It creates more shame, anxiety, and guilt. And then we need more of it because now we feel shame, anxiety, and guilt instead of connecting to those hard emotions that we have to do in order to heal. We cannot heal what we don't feel, my friends. I know this is one of these that people hate this. We cannot heal what we don't feel. People are like, I don't want to get stuck in my feelings. It's like a faucet and I won't be able to turn it off. I'm like, no, you're already stuck. Because you're not feeling. You're trying to do everything in your power not to feel, and it's prohibiting you from growing, evolving, and getting unstuck. So we're going to have to break up with some bad habits, and that could be caffeine. That could be sugar. That could be junk food. And it's not an all or nothing. All I'm asking you to do is invite you into, what are you trying not to feel? What are you trying to take the edge off? And let's be honest. We all do this at times. So let's not make this, nobody gets out of this category for free is what I want to say. Everybody's got something that they are pulled towards that they want to take the edge off. And you've got to get honest about what that is and whether you want to change it. So I ask this with clients a lot, whether it's a couple, the family, it's an individual, they'll tell me the problem like, oh, I binge eat when I'm sad, or I binge eat when I have shame. I said, do you want to change that? And then I'll ask them what percentage of them wants to change it. So maybe it's 20% wants to, the 80% doesn't. Then I will work with the 20%. And then the 80% wants to stay comfortable. The 80% doesn't really want to do that work. The 80% is afraid. The 80% says, well, what if I can't make it better? And then sometimes the 80% is afraid of things actually changing and then relationships changing, or they're afraid of success. There's a lot there. Or they're afraid of their role changing in the family system. So we have to work on giving up bad habits, repetitive patterns. And that takes us looking within. It takes us going, what is this about for me? What am I trying to not feel? And again, we go back to those core emotions, I'm passionate about, because I know if you connect with them and move through them, then you will get healed. You will find healing. I promise you, there's liberation on the other side. And it's a continuous process. So there's no finish line for this because you're going to have emotions the rest of your life. Okay, so let's go on to number 5. People that put you down, manipulate, or don't encourage you or squash your dreams, tell you to try to fix your emotions, try to tell you, and I don't mean like eliminate them from your life, I mean, maybe break up from really trying to engage with them in a way that is never going to work. So anybody that tears you down, brings you down, doesn't allow you to feel, isn't going to be a healthy person for you. They're not going to allow you to evolve, and they're going to keep you in that same place that you've been. And that leads me to a really important number. We're going to go to number 7, and that is codependency. So living in a non-reality, denial, a fantasy. So we're going to have to break up with not living in reality or a fantasy or not living in truth. When we want to pretend everything's okay and not accept that this might not be healthy. So for example, when I have people come in and they're like, my husband or my wife drinks a lot. And I'm like, well, give me the definition of a lot. And they tell me they're drinking. Again, we think drinking is they're non-functional. They drink all day. They can't take care of the kids, whatever it is. And drinking is a symptom of trauma. Drinking is a symptom of trauma. Addiction is a symptom of trauma and shame. And so that's not, the person isn't bad. They have to admit they have a problem. So if I have someone that comes in and the spouse, the partner, the family member is denying, minimizing, rationalizing that someone has an addiction, that's not reality. They don't want to accept because it's hard to accept that someone has an addiction, that they're drinking, binge drinking, that they're, I'm just using this as an example. I can't help them until we get to the point where we grieve that, yes, this person has a problem and this is the truth of the situation. Now I can help you because now we're in reality. So we have to give up minimization, denial, and live in reality, not a non-reality, not fantasy. Otherwise, it really is hard to make any headway because you're minimizing. You're not really telling the truth because we don't want to believe it. Or we don't really, then things will have to change. And I don't really want to have to change things. And I'm afraid. That's why therapy is so important to deal with all this. Okay, so let's go to I think I'm on number 7. Here's the thing. We're going to have to give up relationships where people don't believe you. So there's a lot of, not give them up, but we're going to have to recalibrate how we interact with them. So a lot of trauma comes from people not being believed. So they'll say maybe something that's happened to them, sexual abuse, something's happened to them and they are denied because it's too hard. Then we have to deal with maybe a failure as a parent, or we have to deal with our own feelings around that. We need to be believed, especially when you're showing up authentically and telling the truth, right? And so if someone's not going to believe you, we have to rumble through that relationship. Why do you keep going back to that relationship? What is that pull for you? We need to be believed. And if you're lying, that's a whole nother issue. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when you show up authentically and people don't believe you, that's their stuff from their trauma. Okay. Number 8. I think I'm on number 8. Fixing, controlling, and manipulating others. We have to give that up. So I see lots of parents and partners wanting to protect. And there's nothing wrong with that. However, we cannot protect people from emotions. They have them in there already. We can't protect people from their feelings getting hurt. Now, I can be responsible for how I'm saying something. So the parents that want to swoop in, minimize, bypass their kids' emotions instead of letting them have them, and they want to fix it. They want to rescue them out of them. They want them, oh, it's not that bad. It's okay. So someone gets hurt and you're like, shake it off. You're fine. No, let them express the pain. They're afraid they're going to be crybabies. They're afraid they're going to be wimps. They're afraid they're not going to handle pain. Acknowledging the pain moves through the pain. So if you ever see a toddler hurt themselves and you go, oh, sweetie, you need me to kiss your boo-boo, let it out. And then they're like, I'm fine now. And they go off and play. A lot of people were raised, shake it off. You're fine. Don't be a crybaby. We don't let them express that emotion. And guess what happens? It lives in the body. It lives in the nervous system and compromises immune system. We don't learn how to handle our emotions and move through hard things. It's one of the most important things I could teach, and I'm passionate about with mental health, is expressing the emotion in real time and moving through it and be an empathic witness. Allow the emotion to come through and out. Let it be released. They'll get through it and get to the other side. Stop trying to rescue them. Stop trying to minimize it. Stop trying to rationalize it. Go, oh, you're going to be fine. It's not that bad. You just have a little boo-boo. Stop. You're going to be okay. How many times have we all wanted to do that? I've even done that because I'm like, you're okay. We're afraid they're just drama. That's a whole nother issue. I'm not talking about that. I am talking about in real time, if a kid comes home and they're upset, let them get it out. So-and-so didn't sit, nobody sat with me on the bus. I have no friends. And you go, well, yeah, you do. You have so-and-so and so-and-so and so. I'm like, no, let them get it out. Talk about the feelings. Ask how they're feeling. Let's break up with trying to fix, rescue, and save. Let's break up with that. And I know it's going to be hard. All I need you to do is go, oh, yeah, tell me more about it. Let it out. Oh, that's really hard. Yeah, that makes sense. You feel that way. Is there more? That's it. No fix, rescuing. Now, at the end, if they want to work through problem solving, that's fine. Processing first. Let's break up, fix, rescuing, save. That's an unmet need within you. That's your inner child. And maybe you're projecting that because you didn't get that as a child. So really going within and looking at your own unmet needs is super important when we're talking about what we're breaking up with, because a lot of this is rooted in unmet needs. Okay. And you can also look up the definition of codependency. Codependency to me is I'm so focused on you and my security comes whether you love me, you think I'm enough, you're happy with me, you're not upset with me. That is moving away from your own work emotions. And that has to be dealt with. We have to break up with codependency. It'll play out in your parenting. It'll play out in every relationship you have. It's an inner child state. We have to look at that as a whole nother episode, which I will do another one on. And we have an episode, I think Terry Cole talked a little bit about that way back in episode 20. I need to look that up, 20 something. And then the next number 9 is breaking up with perfectionism. Perfecting, placating, pretending, performing, and pleasing. That can kind of fall under the codependency category. What I see is that takes away from authenticity. We spend our time hustling to please someone, placate them, pretend we're okay, perform, perfect. And what do we have? Loneliness, anxiety, shame, fear, guilt. We're not functioning at our best because it's impossible. That's inner child stuff that has to be broken. That pattern has to be broken. And this can take a while because perfectionism really, according to Dr. Brene Brown and her work, is really underneath it is shame. You just don't feel good enough. And you think if I just do it well enough, then I'll avoid blame, shame, and judgment. Not true. These are just defense mechanisms to try to protect yourself from blame, shame, and judgment that don't work. So we have to break up with those things and then replace that with self-compassion, nurturing yourself, which means being kind to yourself, talking to yourself like you would talk with a best friend, you would talk with a little child, boy, girl, it doesn't matter, a little soul, and treat them with dignity and compassion and empathy and let them express their feelings and acknowledge that. When you can do this for yourself and connect emotionally, you can offer this up to other people and it is like gold. It's the greatest currency you can offer yourself and someone else. It breaks generational patterns. It's something I teach every day, and I will to my dying day teach this and be passionate about showing people how to nurture their inner child so they can do it for other people, not to get anything in return, just to see the soul of somebody else. And the soul of yourself and the soul of somebody else, that's where connection lies. Sharing how you really feel. We're going to break up with this. I'm going to dance around and kind of tell them how I feel. Or I'm going to drop these hints. Stop. No hints, no dropping. You can say it compassionately with an I feel. The core emotion there, I feel sad when you're on your phone because I really want to connect with you. That's direct. That's me taking ownership for my feelings. No tip-tap, like, oh, wouldn't it be nice if we just put our phones down? That's passive aggressive. No more. We're breaking up with passive aggressive. I'm adding on to my list here as we go along. I need to add that one. Break up with passive aggressive. I want to disrupt passive aggressive because guess what? Most of us grew up in passive aggressive homes where we don't really say it. We go around like that. Like, wouldn't it be nice if we all just got off our phones? That is so passive aggressive. I feel sad because I really want to connect with you. And would you be willing to put your phone down so we could connect? That's direct. No more tip tapping, passive aggressive zingers, hoping and waiting they're going to get the point. Man, I wish somebody would have gotten me something for my birthday. No, I feel sad because I really would have liked a card. And now that you know, I really would like a card in the future for my birthday. Okay, that's direct. Passive aggressive would have been nice for you to get me a card. Okay, no more. No more passive aggressive. We're breaking up with passive aggressive. There's going to be 11 to my list now because that was number 10. So number 11, and this is the biggest one I had on my list and the most important, I think, grieving element of this list, because there's a lot of grief in this list. So this next one is the hope. We're breaking up with the hope of having a different past or a different childhood. Let me say it one more time. We're breaking up with the hope that you had a different past or a different childhood. We're accepting that kind of goes into that reality category. Once you accept the reality, and this trauma often takes layers to get to this point, so have some grace for yourself to accept the reality of your childhood, to accept the reality of your past. Then the healing can begin. When we accept reality and we tell the truth about it, the healing can begin. That's the good news. Is it hard? Yes. Will you take 10 steps forward, sometimes 20 steps back? Yeah, that's how it goes. There's no finish line. There is delayering. That's why I love EMDR. There's an episode 2 episodes ago with Jason Tarnow. And that's where that we talk about EMDR and that modality, and then brain spotting. And I had Brooke Randolph on for that. And that's why you can go back and binge listen to the episodes. You're going to hear repetition. And I encourage you to listen repeatedly because it breaks patterns. It encourages you to keep going because doing this work is hard and you need a support system. It's important you have a support system to do these breakups because they help you, support you through it. They offer an empathic space. You guys are doing it together. That's why sharing episodes can be important. You're using the same language. You're doing the same work. Although everybody's unique and an individual, our past creates a lot of shame for ourselves. In our childhood, there's a lot of pain. There's many different types of trauma. And that's, again, we can unpack that. There's been lots of episodes on trauma. You can go back to listen to that. And they can be broken down in many different categories. We have, childhood traumas from abuse, whether it's physical, sexual, emotional abuse. We have neglect, whether it's physical, emotional neglect. We have witnessing violence. So if you witnessed any kind of abuse or violence, that definitely plays a role in how you show up and what triggers you now. And if there's been any kind of abandonment or losses, whether it's a divorce, it could be a death of a parent, a loved one that you were close to, that definitely impacts you. And addictions. If anybody in the family system had addictions, whether it's a parent, a primary caregiver, a sibling, and then those are some major ones, that losses, major moves, these all can be very impactful that need to be processed. Because if we didn't get to process it in real time, it's stuck. It hasn't been acknowledged. So your reactivity may be in present time playing out. In relationship, these traumas unconsciously could be playing out. That's why when I talk about doing these breakups, we're trying to get to a breakthrough. So when we do breakups, we do breakthroughs. And crisis leads to breakthroughs. Trauma leads to breakthroughs. That's the beautiful thing. We end up having more compassion, more empathy. We end up being of service to others. It's the greatest gift I've seen. Once we heal our own trauma, and it's a continuous process. One time we think, oh, I'm all healed from that. And then it comes up again. I'm like, yeah, I get it. Maybe less intense. And we are then being able to be of service to others. I've seen this happen with so many clients. They're able to help others just being themselves. They're being authentic. They're being vulnerable, and they're being of service. And we need more of service, genuine, authentic. It's not trying to get worth, value, love, acknowledgement, security. It's really authentically to connect and to be of service. So those are the things. We really want to build more routine. We want to be consistent with breaking some of these patterns. And I think the main thing is through all of this, is self-compassion as you're breaking patterns, because it's not easy. And you'll go back. When stress comes, you're back in the pantry. Take a deep breath. Ask yourself what you need that would serve you better. Go for a walk. Drink some water. Be kind to yourself. Ask your inner child, your little boy, your little girl, what is it that I need right now? What am I looking for? A lot of times what you're looking for is comfort. Connect with your support system that's comforting, that you can be real and say, I'm having a hard time. I'm in the pantry. I'm in a shame spiral. I am feeling afraid. I'm wanting to hide. I'm fixated on this relationship because I think that's going to be the answer. The fixating on relationships, meaning like codependency, where you're so fixated on the other person or your children, those are all warning signs that we got to do some deeper work. So let me cheer you on to these 11. We ended up doing 11, got a bonus one in there. Passive aggressive one was a bonus. And what you're changing, what you're replacing, keep going, keep sticking with it. This is worth it. You're worth it. You will make a difference. You will be of service to yourself and to other people. And it will change the way you feel on the inside. I promise you. Will you always feel a certain way? No, because you have feelings that come and go. It will change your perspective. It's like putting on a new pair of glasses. When you've had an older pair of glasses and you haven't been able to see real clearly, it's like putting a new lens in how you see the world and see yourself. So keep going. If you need help with this, get in therapy. You know I'm passionate about it. Done my own therapy. I'm a therapist. I'm on a movement and on a crusade to get everybody into doing some sort of work. Listen to podcasts that help you through the process. Read books as they speak to you, and don't give up. Whatever you do, don't give up. No, you're going to stumble. You're going to fall. You're going to, what we call mess up, screw up, whatever you want to call it. I don't see it as that. I see those as all learning opportunities. Just know you're not alone on this journey. I'm right there with you. I'm right in your ear. If you need to put this on a couple of times, I'm cheering you on. I love you. And thanks for listening. And don't give up. Until the next episode, if you did get something out of this, post it on social, put #CloseTheChapter so I can see it, or tag me in it, because that fires me up to go, yes, we're building a community. We're on a movement. We are going to encourage others to do their work. I'm not going to fix, rescue, and save because I'm going to do my own work. So keep going. Blessings. Talk to you soon. Talk to you in the next episode. Thank you so much for listening to the Close the Chapter podcast. My hope is that you took home some actionable steps along with motivation, inspiration, and hope for making sustainable change in your life. If you enjoyed this episode, click the subscribe button to be sure to get the updated episodes every week, and share with a friend or a family member. For more information about how to get connected, visit Kristen, KRISTEN, Boyce, BOICE.com. Thanks and have a great day.